The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hi there, and welcome back to Raising Me. I'm Adrienne Stein. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today we are talking about getting organized, but on a much deeper and sustainable level. Of course, it's right after the new year, right? And if your house is anything like mine, you are walking around with this sort of weird mix of New Year fresh start and also why do we have 12 water bottles and only 6 lids? January really does have a way of turning up that volume on big feelings at home. I mean, it's the dead of winter, right? We're trapped in there often, at least in the Northeast here. And often the clutter just feels heavier. The mess, more personal. The mental load, well, it can feel like it's screaming at you. So today's episode is for the parent who just might be feeling overwhelmed or frustrated in their space. And here's the reality. It's not about being lazy and just not wanting to clean up or failing. And you're definitely not the only one who is thinking something has to change or I just don't know where to start, which is where I often land. Stephanie Treantos from Lemonaid Solutions is here, and she helps families create organizing systems that actually work in real life. We're not talking about like perfect home on the internet life either. She and her company were even featured in Better Homes and Gardens, which is really cool. So we get into why so many homes can feel heavy, how clutter impacts stress, and why some systems are just basically set up to collapse. Plus, she shares some simple ways to start in 2026, even if you only have a few minutes a day, and has a really great hack for deciding what stays and what goes. She is just such a joy to speak with and to be with, and reminds us you do not have to be a person who is born organized. She admits that was definitely not her, yet here she is building this successful business around exactly that. So we're going to learn how she did it too. Organizing is a skill that requires a lot of work, but we can all get there, like with anything else if we put in the effort. Before we get started, a quick thank you, but a big thank you to our friends at Sweetser Behavioral Health for sponsoring the podcast. Let's get organized. Stephanie, I'm so glad to have you back. Happy New Year.
No, Happy New Year.
How did we get to 2026 already? It was like time flies,
absolutely,
right?
The last couple of months of 2025.
I bet you're pretty busy this time of year because it is top of mind to get ourselves or our space organized. How long that lasts into 2026 is sort of yet to be determined, right? But it is, I'm sure you hear that it's a common sort of New Year's resolution or a goal for the year.
I would say it's in line with going to the gym.
Going to the gym, losing weight, eating right, and getting organized. So we're going to hopefully get a little organized today. You know, one thing that I thought as we were kind of talking about this conversation and getting good advice and just simple tips for our listeners is just that a home often has like a feel to it or an energy around it. And if, you know, it made me sort of think about that after you said that. And I was like, it does. I mean, you have to be attuned to it, right? Like sometimes you're not paying attention to that. But a home does have an energy or a vibe to it. Mm-hmm. What are the things that you feel when you go into a client's home sometimes?
I think that in most cases, like you had just mentioned, kind of the hamster wheel when we were talking before this started. And I think so many of us are not able to be fully present in the moment to really feel that, like you just said. But in a lot of cases, there's certain transitions in life. New Year, even being a small piece of that, is kind of opening up and being able to like really feel what's happening in our homes. And I think being in Maine, being that it gets dark at 3:30, we're stuck in our homes. There's just so many different things that make us more aware in the winter. So yes, we get very busy this time of year, but I think it's that energetic shift honestly, and just being more aware, being home more often. The fact that we're parents and we have so much going on, the house just feels like it's kind of closing in on us, is what I hear from a lot of people that reach out to me in January.
That is a great way to, it does. It's like you start to feel like claustrophobic almost. And that is because you are locked, at least in Maine, obviously, you are locked in a little bit more. And I also think too, your own home, you stop seeing the piles, or you stop seeing the corner filled with toys, or you stop seeing it. And then when you stop and get into that awareness that you're talking about, it's like, oh my gosh, wow, I have a lot of work to do, right? Like you do stop seeing it in your own home.
Yeah. I mean, even it happens to me. Like I'll put something down and I'm just so focused on like, okay, we got to get the kids out the door and we got to do this and this. And like, I'm running through my day as I'm kind of walking through my morning, that like if I set something down or Chris is going to hand something to me, like we're not actually always in the moment.
Yes.
And I think that there's certain times that we like kind of snap back into the moment, and then it's like, oh my God. And I think Christmas vacation, coming off of like this long break where the kids are home from school, like everything is so much more apparent. Like the calls I have in the new year are like, we just kind of laugh about it together, but it's just like, oh my God, please help me.
Please help me. And plus you've had company, plus you've had all the meals, plus all the toys and all the things that come into the house. And I'm telling you, not all that came out of the house. The equal number of things did not go out of the house. And we can get into that too. Yep. Before we get too far into it, just remind us about your background, because I really think that it's very important and interesting. Like you say, you're not an organized person by nature, right? Like how did you get to this point where you were running this successful organizing business as not an organized person per se?
Yeah. I always try and keep this simple, but it's challenging because it's somewhat complex. It's a long road to getting here. And I like to call myself a type C person.
Okay. What is a type C person?
Lower than a type B.
Oh!
And type A is, very like what you would anticipate a traditional organizer being like. They must be type A to be able to like do all of these things and help people. Type B person, like the call I had yesterday morning, she said, I'm type B. It's just the way people reference kind of where they are on the spectrum. And I would like to say, like, traditionally, I am type C. And some people say C. And then maybe I invented it. I don't know. But, like, I am, like, down there. I would say I'm now between A and B.
Okay.
And it was learned. So I like sharing that because I think it gives people hope that you can be any letter of the alphabet and you can still get to a place where you feel good about your space and how organized it is, how functional it is for you in your life. So
how did you learn it though?
How did I learn it?
Give us some hope
on
the B and C personalities out there that we can get to a more organized headspace.
Yeah. So I would say when I met my husband, he's a big part of like the beginning of my story. We met when we were 23. And so still fairly young. And I work with a lot of people that, have kids that are around that age and they're like, are they ever gonna, get it? Like they're so messy. And I think that age is a factor. There was always a part of me as a kid that really enjoyed fashion and design. And I had a different pair of jeans for every day of the month. And I would like to organize my closet, but it wasn't something the type C kind of comes in because I couldn't keep up with it. And it was something that I wasn't really good at maintaining. I can't remember what my closets looked like back then, but there was something in me that really enjoyed it and felt this calm, peaceful presence walking in when my room was clean and I moved the bed to a different wall and, all that
energetically,
like fun
it just
stuff.
Feels like it flows. Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people that are listening and or reach out for support for organization, it's something that they do crave and maybe something that they could inherently be good at if they were taught. For me, I think it was just a lot of trial and error. Meeting my husband was like kind of whipped me into shape a little bit. Like you can't live this way if you guys are going to eventually live together. Like there was this internal pressure that I was embarrassed, you know, and he didn't put that on me, but it was just something that I was like, I don't know that this is normal per se. And so I kind of slowly shifted my ways. I think that because of my childhood and how chaotic it was, how embarrassed I was of our home growing up, that there's this like deep passion within me to help people work through those things. And so it was a lot of trial and error. I had a friend that knew how to organize closets really well. And so she kind of taught me those fundamentals. But from there, all of the other spaces, it is like crazy to think that I had no background, no skill. I just had pure determination to do something with my life that felt profound to me. And so I worked at it every single day to perfect it. If I look back at my first projects, they're actually not horrible, but they're nothing like they are today. So it's just been borderline like perfectionist, you know, just have to be the best. I'm very competitive. So I think all of these different parts of me really blended well together to get me to where I am today. So
it is hard to believe when, and I hope our listeners go check you out on Instagram and your website, because it's the spaces you create are gorgeous. So it is hard to believe that this is not your natural space. And it really is. It's this learned skill. And it's like, I look at the pictures, I'm like, I want to live in there, you know, because there is an energy around all of the stuff, right? What should we be thinking about before we're bringing things into our house, whether it is from that energy perspective or just physically, like space-wise?
I would say the foundation of any organizing project is the edit. But prior to even thinking about a project and thinking about tackling something, it all starts with what we bring into our homes. As parents, and I mentioned this to you the last time we spoke, and it's not always something I say right away because I, you know, lean on the side of caution, I guess, when having these conversations with potential clients. But to say it here and to be frank, we have control over what comes into our house because we're the ones buying it.
This is something I actually just got the chills again, because this is something that's really stuck with me from our last conversation is like when we're after our kids about all this stuff and you've got all this stuff and put it away. Wait, stop right there. We brought it in.
Yeah.
And having that sort of, let's just pause and have a little self-reflection there too.
Yep. I remember growing up, my mom, you know, would always complain about how our house was a mess and like kind of pointing towards us as like
the problem.
You guys need to figure it out. And I have calls with people all the time. And I don't think their intention is to shift the blame, but we almost need some way to cope with what's happening. And it's like, well, my kids have all of this stuff, sports, and they have all these lacrosse sticks and, you know, their hockey gear and whatever. But for the most part, like we have full responsibility over what's coming in. And ultimately, the amount of stuff we have equates to the amount that we have to maintain on a daily and weekly basis. So there's less coming in, there's less to maintain, there's less to worry about even getting organized.
That is hard. As you know, you have young kids yourself, but it's hard to sort of get in that space. And it feels like, I mean, you just have to say no more often too, which can be an issue in and of itself, right? So it's thinking about what we bring in before it's even in. However, for a lot of us, it's already in.
Yes.
Right? And so I know you're big into systems. It's not just like, hey, I like this, keep it. Hey, I don't like this, toss it. It's like really coming up with a whole system for your house. How would one even begin to create a system? Like, what would be step one in something like that?
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So then I'm doing IT, and when I go to plug the servers in, they become sentient, and they won't let us access our network unless we forward their chain emails and memes to more and more and more people, and then I wake up
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant finds and invites best fit candidates to apply so you can discover talent you may have missed. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
I think step one, kind of, even as you mentioned, people that are listening may already have this stuff. And that's fine. But I think if we continue to bring things in, like Christmas is over,
Right.
we're into the new year. Maybe there's a birthday coming around the corner for one of the kids. But I always tell people when there's either overconsumption problem or just too much stuff in general, I usually put people on like a shopping halt.
And
Like,
how long does this last?
it depends on the severity of it.
Yeah,
but
of
I
course.
think if someone is listening and the amount of stuff that they have is kind of the big issue to get started with, is to stop bringing things into your
in the house anymore.
Unless it's really necessary or
Right.
something that really is going to bring value to your life or the people in your house. That is ultimately step one, because if you keep adding, it makes it hard to create a system if the overconsumption is a factor in this. And let's just say that it's at a normal capacity. You don't really buy too much, but maybe it's a buildup of just 15 years of stuff, and you've never really done any type of project and focused on getting rid of anything. And it's just, you've outgrown it and you've evolved, and habits change for ourselves, for our kids. And so there's times where I've gone in and a 7-year-old or 10-year-old is into video games or Pokemon cards or whatever they're transitioning to. But they have all the baby stuff still in there.
You are speaking to me right now because I have the 7-year-old who's definitely transitioning into the bigger kid stuff. But all the do I get rid of all the blocks and the magnetiles and the, the bristle block, those kinds of things? Yes. Please tell me more.
But I don't think that that you have to erase the past, but what are they actually playing with? If we want to focus on just so it's easier to follow, like a playroom or just where the toys are, and focusing on their age and what they're actually playing with. I personally incorporate my kids into going through and getting rid of stuff because I think it's just a lifelong skill that they're going to take with them into adulthood. And they know what we're doing. They understand the why behind it. And so an edit is the next step because you're not going to organize things
so
that aren't being
actually
used.
comes before the system.
Yes.
Okay. So the edit. All right.
Yep. And so whether you involve your kids in it because they're a part of that space, if it's not like your personal closet or something, kid stuff is usually like the biggest thing that people reach out to me for is like, do all of my kids stuff. But what I find is, in the storage that you maybe have, the bins that maybe you've purchased to attempt in creating a system is filled with stuff that nobody's using. And so the stuff that is being used is on the floor and on the surfaces and in a couple different rooms because
this feels very personal. Go ahead, continue.
Well, I see it a lot over and over. So it's the same story for a lot of people. So I think it's really relatable, and they move so fast into the next size up of clothing, and they move so fast between the Hot Wheels to the Pokemon cards or, whatever. So I think for me, I'm really on top of it like once a quarter or during a transition. Once you have a system, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but the maintenance of that is then continuing just to see what everyone is using. There's so much jargon out there and all of this complicated, do this, do that. The simplicity of it is it's really what is everyone using and what aren't they using?
Though, let's talk about that because often what I'll say is, well, we don't use it right now, but are we going to need it later? So how do you answer that internally? You're laughing because I'm sure you've heard that before, right? Yeah. Like, it could be anything. Maybe even it is clothes. Even it's like, well, I haven't worn this in a long time. But what if it comes back? Or this was such a nice jacket. Like, what if I need it later? What do you say to that?
So there's certain spaces that are much easier to do than others. Okay. I would say don't jump into doing your closet if you're attached to your shoe collection or all the scarves or, whatever. Everyone has their thing. Start with something easy. You need to build this new muscle of allowing yourself to let things go, because I think there's so many, what if this, it was expensive, a gift or whatever. There's so many excuses that we give ourselves.
You seem exhausted by the excuses that
There's
you probably
a lot.
hear every day.
There's a lot. And I get it. I
of
mean,
course.
sometimes when I'm doing my own closet, I do my own edits. I do my own maintenance. It's so much easier to have someone come in and give you that accountability. And I know not everybody is going to do that. For some people, they're going to do it themselves, whether there's, certain restrictions in place for that. But yeah, I'll go into my closet and I'm like, oh, I haven't worn this sweater for a while, but it was
really expensive.
$200.
I really loved it. Or maybe I'll want it next season.
Yes. Yeah. Or, I ate too much over the holidays and I've gained,
what do you do with
5-10 pounds? Do
you let your jeans go if they don't fit? Or do you say, I'm going to get back into these?
I have no more skinny jeans in my closet. I have a pair of Levi's that are just staring me in the face because the way I fold them, I can see the butt. Yeah. So I can identify them. So the Levi symbol is like in my face, and I haven't worn them in like a year and they're still in there. So I'm not perfect.
Right.
I'm in between the A-B, and sometimes I lean more B, sometimes more A. We can't be perfect at this. So I don't think that's ever the goal. It's really like my closet still functions really well, but I'm a human being and not perfect. And so there's things in my closet that probably shouldn't be there. If I had one of my girls from my team come over, and we've joked about this.
This is out. Stephanie,
do an edit
done.
With me.
Yeah.
I would get rid of stuff. Yeah. It's so much easier when someone is there holding you accountable and kind of being like, that Express shirt from 2012 is never going to leave this closet on you.
No.
It's going to go out in that bag. Like, it's just having those harsher conversations where you can't fight with yourself in your head because there's someone else there being like, So it's so much easier in that way. But
can we real quick, when we're talking about this tossing or keeping and going sort of back into that part about being in tune, right? And taking a moment to be in the moment and feeling that energy. So I've heard that as a pro tip before, like actually put your hands on it. And if you have that feeling of like, it lights you up a little bit for whatever reason, like that would be worth keeping. And if you're just like, I feel nothing for this, just let it go. Even if you're like, but I spent $50 on that, whatever it is, just let it go.
Yeah.
Is there something to that? Is just like a quick sort of being in tune to the energy of an item?
So the way I approach it is a little bit different, where I think that if you actually touch something, it connects you to it and it makes it harder to let go.
Interesting.
Which is sometimes why it's harder to just do it on your own. The mental and the actual physical touch of touching things makes it a little bit harder. There's just like a barrier there. But what I will say is when I'm doing, let's say, a closet with someone, I know within 1 second, if we went through your closet, I would know within 1 second whether you wanted something or not.
How?
There's always a hesitation if you don't love it. And sometimes a hesitation isn't an automatic no, but it's most likely a no. But there's usually some of the excuses coming through.
Okay. I might need that.
I might need that.
What if I need a red sweater next Christmas, right? Or whatever
it used to fit and I'm really trying hard to get it. Every single, and they pause because their brain is going like this.
Whereas if you love it, you're going, no, keep it.
Yep.
No, keep it.
Yeah. 100%. If you love it, it's instant. So I guess in line with what you said, like, yes, it can be a very quick. It's just whether you can actually act on that and understand. So I tell clients this all the time when we're starting to do an edit so that they understand what I'm looking for. They can also look for it too. And I think it helps them to be like, oh, wait, I do love this. I hesitated. And sometimes we talk through certain things and I nudge them one way or another based off of kind of what they're saying to me. But
I bet you become like a little therapist too, like a therapist for people going through these things and digging things out that they probably haven't seen in years.
Yeah, there's so many different things that come up and they're not always, superficial. Sometimes they're very real.
Course, yeah.
So helping talk through some of that. But that's why kind of back to the point of doing an edit on your own is to not start with something where you're going to have.
Where you have that personal.
A kitchen is usually easier to get rid of, not always to create a system, but they're in those steps for a reason. And the edit will at least make it so much easier to live.
Okay, so with the edit, kitchen or maybe kids' toys or something that doesn't have this real deep personal connection.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So what would be your one big takeaway for somebody going out and doing an edit this weekend of their home?
Something that they can do.
What would be the big takeaway, first thing they should do when they think about the edit?
I always want to remind people why they're setting out to even do it.
Yeah.
You know, like what is the reason? What are the things that are, how is it holding you back? And to kind of keep that on the forefront when it does get hard, because even in a kitchen, you might come across something that was passed down.
A grandmother's spoon or a rolling pin or something like that. Yeah.
But I also think if something like that is purposeful, even if it's just being displayed, is fine too, if you have the space for it. But either way, there's going to be some roadblocks that you hit mentally that come up. And so I think just having that on the forefront and knowing like why am I setting out to do this? Is it because it's making every day more challenging for me? Are my spouse and I arguing because we can't find things? Are we wasting money because we keep buying the same things over and over? You know,
what's your take on a junk drawer?
It's called an essentials drawer at Lemonaid Solutions because it has all of the essential things that you need. I heard that somewhere.
Essentials drawer.
A long time
I like that
ago.
much better.
Yeah. Okay. I still call it a junk drawer sometimes, but to be
cheeky,
an essentials drawer. But I think that they're great.
It's like a catch-all, right?
Like,
don't know where to put it, throw it in the junk drawer. Essentials drawer.
Yes.
Rather.
Yes.
I like that.
I think it's
better.
Watching what you put in there. And for some people, I'll see this, whether it's the boundaries of spaces and the zoning, like different categories that you have within a space can get a little bit hairy. Like maybe it should actually live in your laundry room or your linen closet, or
rather than the kitchen.
Yeah. So I think it kind of depends. Like, are you actually grabbing this often enough that it needs to be like at ground zero? Or is it just that you don't know where it should go, so it lands there? So I think that goes into kind of creating the system as the next step.
Well, let's talk about this. So we've done the edit. So then what? I mean, the system really is the key, right? You got to have a system in your house so that it's working for you, not against you.
Yeah.
So what is a system and how do we get one going?
A system is really creating, again, back to like the zones and the categories in a way that works specifically for you and your lifestyle and how you go about your day, making things that you use every single day really easily accessible, and just intuitive. Like my team yesterday was doing a pantry and they were going to put water bottles in the kitchen where we typically would put them. They also had a pantry that was separate. And she drinks these shakes and she's mixing them in the pantry.
Oh.
So oddly, like, although that's what we typically would do, learning and understanding her flow. Why would she grab her shake stuff, her mixes that she has in the pantry, to walk it out into the kitchen, to come back? Like, it's just so like, how many steps are you taking to complete one task? Like, if you're making the shake, you should be able to grab the water bottle, the shaker, put the shake in, shake it up, and go about your day. You shouldn't have to walk in all of these triangles. Kind of the same thing when you empty your dishwasher, or if you're making a plate for dinner, silverware, plates, cups, like it all should be in a way that like how you move throughout doing certain activities. When you're getting dressed in your closet, thinking about, I love to do like a casual section and then maybe like a more formal or like business casual section. Depends on the variety of things that people own, how complex and, you know, what different layers and categories are there. But I like to understand, is someone getting dressed a lot for work, or do they work from home and they're wearing their sweatpants, their Zoom outfit,
right,
you know?
Exactly.
And
business
so,
on the top,
yeah,
casual on the bottom.
Are they working out a lot? And if they are, that should be really easily accessible. there's a lot of things that we see kind of, happening the same with it, different projects, but then there's unique things that we really need to listen to make sure that like when they go to put something away, if it's not easy, they're going to put it down.
Yes.
Instead of putting it away. So in the same sense, thinking about a system for yourself is learning and understanding, or not even learning, but like, I guess getting back into, how you go about your day.
Isn't it just tapping back into that why?
Yeah.
Why would this be better? Why would this work for me? How it ends up saving you time ultimately if you're not going from your kitchen to back to your pantry for your shakes, for example.
Yeah.
I think a big sticking point too is kids and figuring out how in the world, like I'm thinking of my 7-year-old's room right now, and how in the world do we get a system in place? I think we have a massive edit to do. I'll just say that, but a system in place that works and is sustainable.
Yep.
And I also think about my 13-year-old son's room, which again, boy, I've got a lot of editing to do in the coming days. But, to get a system in place where it is sustainable for kids and getting them to buy into it too.
Yeah. Simplicity across the board is what we do for everybody, regardless of their age, because most people that are reaching out to us, in most cases, are not creating systems on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They can follow a system, but creating one is something different.
It's hard. Or it feels I'm sure it's one of those things that you break it down in little pieces. I'm sure it's something that you can do, but it feels really overwhelming.
Yeah.
I
think it's
started.
The time for a lot of people too, because for us, we're not going to just look at a few cabinets in the kitchen and move a few things around, which is what I think most people do. They go to Home Goods or Target, they grab a few bins, they don't measure.
That sounds right.
And they just put things in bins and put it back. And that's not a system. A system is doing the edit, taking everything out of every nook and cranny. Cleaning it too is kind of like a cherry
fresh.
on top. But then really thinking about, I always start with, like when I'm training people on my team, is start with what you know. Like what is an absolute? And that in a kitchen is maybe the plates, maybe it's the pots and pans, because the pots and pans can really only fit in a number of places. Right. And I work my way back. And then the harder things that maybe we can't figure out where the water bottle's going to go, because those could maybe flow into a couple different areas. Start with the absolutes and work backwards. But a Band-Aid solution is focusing on like 1 or 2 cabinets, hoping that we're going to create a system. In some cases, maybe that's all you need. But I would say starting fresh, blank slate, pulling everything out and putting it back. But again,
so for like the kids, maybe it's starting with just the closet. And then maybe it's going
just
to
the clothes.
The clothes.
Yes.
Okay,
yep.
So just the clothes. And
so like
then
the dresser.
Going to more category versus space. So clothes and then toys or whatever it would be.
Because you're going to look at them a little bit differently. So if you were to focus on all of that at once, it would feel overwhelming.
Very.
But you know what sizes they're mostly wearing. So being able to edit based off of size, or seeing that something is stained or ripped, or you notice that they don't actually wear it anymore. At a certain age, I think you can make those decisions for them. And then at a certain age, you can't. Yeah. And it's a little bit more challenging. But.
So when it comes to then the systems, and if maybe we've already done the edit and we're in the system part, what is your number one tip when it comes to creating a system?
I think keeping it simple and intuitive to the way you flow through that space.
We got to maintain it though too, right? So it's edit, it's system, and then keeping up with it on a daily basis. So how do we get to where we aren't just setting something down, even, that we're rushing to get the kids out. We set the coffee cup down and, throw some mail on the counter or whatever it might be. But I think it's awesome to do the edit and get all organized. And that does feel so good. It's just keeping up with it long term that I think you lose a lot of us, on that sort of, where are we in 6 months from now?
Yeah. I will say a part of the system is having product in there to contain. It's not just there to make it pretty, it's really to create a lot of structure so that when it starts to spill over, it's a sign, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
We are overflowing or we are evolving.
Too much stuff or need to.
It just, and it helps that, like, think about, and for some reason I'm picturing a mudroom with overflowing hats and gloves. Because I guess
all
that's
the things
season
right
we're in.
now. Yeah, of course.
But that is telling you something. So having the structure is a way to tell you that something is wrong. Like a doctor diagnosing you, like that something is wrong. And so I think being able to look out for those signs, but product and having labels, we have so much mental energy going out as parents to just keep up at like the bare minimum, that trying to remember what's in that bin up there and what's in this bin over here. You might know it, but then what if nobody else knows it? They're not going to follow.
Right.
So
and
the
then
labels,
it ends up in the wrong place. Right.
the labels are, I would say, like a 95% success rate of having someone put it away. Then you also have husbands like mine who will still put it down or put it in the wrong bin, or, you know, like, again, no one's going to be perfect at this. But I also want to say, back to your, you know, in 6 months, when we start putting things down and we're rushing out the door, that's still going to happen. But I think if you can look at the time and energy that you invested into creating a system as a motivator to, whether it's at the end of the night for 5 minutes, you know, enlisting the rest of the house to get on board with this, kids actually really crave structure, and my kids love it.
Well, I mean,
They can
what
always
a
find
difference
what they need.
if everybody took 15 minutes at the end of the day to sort of reset the house, then all of a sudden maybe you don't have the Saturday where you're cleaning all day long.
I never
right?
do.
Yeah.
Never.
Huh.
It's you know, and sometimes I go to bed and, like, last night, closed the door to my playroom, didn't put it away.
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. It doesn't mean that things are going to fall apart, but if you do that for a period of time, yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer, mixed in buying new stuff that, you know, maybe there isn't a bin for the Pokemon cards because it's new. So
Find a
it's,
bin.
your space is going to evolve, and you
Yeah.
have to evolve the space with you. You can't expect it to keep up with something that doesn't have a foundation.
Well, it's building a habit too, just like any of the things that might come along with the new year, whether it's working out or eating healthy, or this is all the things you're telling me, it feels like it's developing a habit, and you have to do it a certain number of times for it to really click. So it's just being real conscious of it, particularly in the beginning.
Yeah.
If there were, 3 pro tips for us today, what would those be?
Is to not be so hard on yourself and know that you're not going to be perfect at this. The goal is never perfection. For me, it is, because people hire me and pay me to do it. So for me, it is perfection.
Right.
But as someone, if I was just at home and I was listening, really, it's not about perfection.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get it 100% right. You're learning a new way of being. You're learning a new skill that maybe you don't have. And I think that's okay. You'll get better with time. It's
practice. Just like we tell the kids, well, you got to practice, whether it's a sport or school or anything like that. You got to practice.
Yeah. Yep. It's not going to just come by January 15th.
Right.
That's not the way this is going to work. It's a long game. The second one would be not to focus on an entire space. We're looking at the kitchen. It all needs to get done. But as a professional organizer, me saying that I pull everything out, that's not always the case. You have to pick your kids up by a certain time. You maybe have an hour or two. You can go in cabinet by cabinet and edit and figure out if it makes sense of where it is. But I think you can also map it out over time as you have the time. Any step forward is going to progress you to feeling better in your space. So although as someone who gets hired to do this and we do it all in one day, and it's very quick process, it's very different than you doing it at home. So yeah, I think kind of tackling it, whether it's make sure you have time to put it back.
That's the key,
Yeah,
right?
because then if you leave it all out, you're really causing yourself more stress. So if that
Yes.
means going through one cabinet and editing, you can focus on the system later. The edit is first anyway, so you could just go cabinet by cabinet and you will start to feel better, and it will build momentum, and it will build the skill that you might not have. And then third, what I love saying is to buy for the space that you have, not the space you wish you had.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So kind of comes along with what we're bringing into our home, and being realistic with the fact that maybe we don't have a 4,000 square foot house with a walk-in closet and pantry. Maybe we have a reach-in closet, and maybe our pantry is a kitchen cabinet in the kitchen. And although we aspire and dream to maybe have these really big spaces, I don't think they're necessary for a good life. And you can live perfectly within your means, like physically. So that means buying a little bit less.
Great reminders, as always, Stephanie. Love that. I'm going to go home and get organized.
Yeah.
Definitely need to. But I want to just mention, too, we'll have more resources and links to your website and Instagram page on our website, which is wgme.com/raisingme. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Great
for having
pro
me.
tips. Thanks, Stephanie. Thank you so much to Stephanie for joining me today. Love having her on the podcast. Just a pleasure to talk to. And a few takeaways today that really stuck with me. First, if your home feels heavy, first and foremost, you're not alone. And it might be that your space is relying on memory and effort instead of just clear visual systems. Which brings me to the second point, right? Creating a system really is kind of the hard part. But once that system exists, it's in place, most people can follow it. And then third, you don't have to do everything. One small change done consistently can really shift how our home feels. And just, again, that reminder of giving yourself grace. This comes with time and effort and practice, and it does not have to be perfect to be effective. Thank you so much to our sponsor of Sweetser Behavioral Health and to you for listening to Raising Me. I'm Adrienne Stein. This episode was edited by Megan Littlefield with production assistance from Carissa Paulson. Please follow Raising Me wherever you get your podcasts and consider a positive rating and review, which helps others find this message. Wherever you are, I hope you learned something new and get to take a little time for you.
This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.